Welcome to Cindy's Creative Inspirations. I'm Cindy Echtinaw, owner and designer at StampingScrapping.com. Today I'm going to share with you how to letterpress and how to emboss using the Mbossabilities Framed Labels 1. I'm also going to be using the card creator, which is perfect layers for a card every single time, Matting Basic Set A, the Distress papers from Tim Holtz and Ranger, 180-pound cotton letterpress paper, and the canvas paper for the regular embossing, along with Decorative Labels 1 and Labels 1. And then I'll be using my stamp set called Holidays to finish off my card. So let's create something fun. I'm using Framed Labels 1 Mbossability. The neat thing about the Mbossabilities is their versatility and their value. You actually get 4 different designs, an embossed and a debossed design for 4 different patterns when you're letterpressing, because you only use one side. So let me give you the sandwich for the letterpressing only, and I'll run over the embossing one in a few minutes. What you're going to do is you're going to use your A base plate. Then you're going to place whichever side you want to letterpress face open. I'm going to use Memento dye ink, but you can use pigment or dye ink. And then you simply ink your desired pattern. Now this wipes off with a baby wipe or just soap and water. Actually just water. It's very easy to do. You don't need to worry about getting it in the center here because you're going to cover that up with your Decorative Labels 1 and your actual other Labels 1. So once you have it inked up, you're going to take your letterpress and place it where you want. Now I'm not going to do the entire piece. I'm only going to pick just the center. But lay it down where you want. And then you only use the B embossing plate. You do not use the tan embossing pad. You just use the B plate. And then all you do is place that on top, open faced, and run through the grand caliber. And this is your deep letterpress. Now we're going to emboss. I've cleaned up my embossing folder with a baby wipe, and I'm going to use the other side, which would be the emboss side, where I used the deboss side when we letterpressed. Again, I'm going to ink it up. You can use, again, either a pigment or a dye ink. Just make sure you've covered your design completely. And the recipe for embossing is the A, which is the base plate, your embossing folder, and then I'm using the canvas paper. Place that inside, close your embossing folder, and then this one uses the raspberry spacer plate or the D adapter plate, and you have it closed. So the recipe is the A plate, the Mbossabilities with your paper sandwiched inside, and the D adapter plate, and you're going to run that through. And that gives you this beautiful design. The next step is to cut out all of the elements that we need to create our card. I'm going to be using the grand caliber because I love the fact that I can cut out all the elements I need for my card in one cut and one emboss. The first dies that I'm going to be using is Matting Basics A, and there are these two here, the largest and the next, and I've already used removable tape to tape it down to my Mbossabilities piece. I'm going to flip it over on my base plate so the cutting side is up. I'm going to lay a piece of the Tim Holtz cardstock onto this piece. And then for my Decorative Labels 1, I'm going to use a piece of wax paper because it's a delicate or an intricate design. It will aid in getting that cardstock out. And then I'm going to lay a little piece on my white here. And we're going to run through the grand caliber. Here are all of the pieces cut. Now I'm going to use my tan embossing mat and my pink embossing plate to emboss my pieces. Now, one of the tips that I like to share with the embossing mat is to use baby powder on this, and that way it keeps the paper from sticking to your embossing mat. So we're going to emboss, and I'll be right back with the pieces embossed. So I've now cut and embossed. I'm going to take off my embossing mat, and you will see how easily that these pieces pop right out of the dies. And then this one is the one that I used the wax paper on, and you'll see it just pops right out. So it makes it very easy. There's the wax paper, just pull it off. And what you can do with this is you can spritz through it using Glimmer Mist or Perfect Pearls. So I always save these pieces of the wax paper. And here is our beautiful decorative labels one. So I'll be back in a moment and we can start assembling our card. Now that we have everything cut, let's assemble our card. First, we're going to start with an A2 card base, and then we're going to take our Card Creator Basics Mat A, the largest size, and I'm using Scrapbook Adhesives Easy Dots. Perfect placement every time. And then now I'm going to use our piece that we use the Mbossabilities. And then I'm going to place 4 of the foam dots from Scrapbook Adhesives for dimension onto my card. And these decorative labels ones fits absolutely beautiful on top of the Mbossabilities. And then the last step is using the number 3 decorative, or the labels 1 die. And I'm going to be using Memento Bamboo Leaves and Grape Jelly along with my Cindy Echtinaw Designs Spellbinders matching stamps. And we're going to ink up using a sponge dauber the edge of the label die. And now we are going to stamp in the grape jelly. The matching clear stamp. Nice thing about these is you can see the perfect placement where you're going to place these. And that does this. And now I'm going to ink up my Celebrate stamp. We're going to stamp Celebrate once here, another time down here, and then the grape jelly into the center. And we're going to adhere this. And that will finish off our card. So as you can see, this is our beautiful card that we have created. Happy creating! Thanks for watching. All of the items can be found on stampingscrapping.com.